need those back doors to close, please? Okay. So
Call it to order.
I'm going to call this to order. Really quick, Joanne, before we get started with this meeting, we have an outstanding item from this afternoon that we would like to finish before we start the meeting.
Does the meeting commence, we commence the adjourned meeting? I'd feel more comfortable if we commence the adjourned meeting before we start our official business for this evening's meeting.
Right, we have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever way you want, it's fine.
All right. So I'm going to call the meeting,
Reconvene.
that we reconvene the public hearing that we had this afternoon concerning 305 West Avenida Gaviota. And Scott, do we have?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, the staff was asked to bring back a draft resolution memorializing the council's conclusion in the minute order from earlier this afternoon, and that resolution is hot off the press. Incorporates the findings that you made, and we present it to you for your consideration and adoption. I guess I should say that this resolution memorialized the minute action that was to revoke the short-term operating license for the property at 305 West Gaviota.
Just as a point of clarity, are there copies for anyone in the, yeah,
Yeah, we can make.
and we should put it online in case there are
Yeah,
people
we
watching.
will. Do we have additional? Okay, this one, yeah, we've got a couple.
No, we have like one.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Oh, Christy, here's an additional one.
One, two.
Doesn't appear staff wants to make any comments on this. No. Is everyone ready? Do you still need to read? Okay.
So it's really point 4 that we care about on page 3.
If everyone's good, there's no comments, we don't have any, anything, I'll move that we adopt resolution number
17-19.
17-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, revoking short-term lodging unit STLU operating license 314804 related to the operation of an STLU at 305 West Avenida Gaviota.
Motion by Ham, second by Brown, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay. And with that, I will call the meeting to order.
The City of San Clemente respects the many people of different faiths who reside here. The City Council historically begins its session with an invocation offered by one of the religious leaders of our community with full appreciation of our shared belief that we are one nation under God. And while the city cannot endorse any particular religion, we respect the religious freedom and freedom of expression of all our citizens to pray as they feel led to pray. This evening's invocation will be given by Mark Ambrose, lead pastor of Pacific Coast Church.
Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Let's pray. Lord, as we pause here before we begin the meeting to defer to you, we're humbled and thank you for the place we live. In light of the near tragic events that took place in Brussels and Paris and the UK over the last couple of days, we thank you for the safety we enjoy in this town. We thank you for the beauty that we see, and it's your beauty. And so we're blessed to be able to be here. And I just pray, Lord, for wisdom, for discernment for this team, this city council, that they would make decisions that would continue to keep San Clemente safe, keep it beautiful, keep it profitable, and find that balance. So just give them wisdom, discernment, and I thank you for them. Guide this meeting to accomplish your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please place your hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Councilmember Doncheck. Councilmember Ham.
Here.
Councilmember Swartz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Here.
Mayor Ward.
Here.
First item on the agenda is presentation by Nilay Bhatt, Pros Consulting, concerning a progress report on the Beaches, Parks, and Recreation Master Plan.
Good evening, Council. Samantha Thomas, Recreation Manager. I'm here to introduce Nilay Bhatt with Pros Consulting. He's going to give us a quick update on the statistically valid survey that took place and also kind of do a quick recap on where we're at with the master plan. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Samantha asked me to keep it short, so I promise I'll be done in 2 hours. I'm just kidding. It's great to be back. I've obviously met a few of you as well, and as I've half joked with some of you before, we're based in Indianapolis, Indiana, but we work all over the country, and this is all we do. It's parks and recreation and beaches master plans, and someone's got to take one for the team, so I volunteer for all the tough places, so here I am. But as you're aware, this is a process about 8 or 9 months in the making. It's really at a midpoint, if you may. We've done a lot of the community outreach work so far. A number of you I know have participated in the stakeholder interviews, the key leader interviews. We had multiple open public meetings as well. We've had an online survey and a statistically valid survey. And for the last 10 months, we've also had a website called scparksplan.com that's had basically all the information and the meetings publicized on that as well. The expanded report and the findings presentation you see with you has all the demographics, trends, among other pieces. I'm not going to go through every single one, but I did want to share findings with you of what we've heard from your constituents, both in a subjective and objective manner, highlight some key points that we found from there, and then sort of expand onto the next steps, which in the coming months we'll bring back to you more in the form of an action plan, as well as some recommendations for the future of the city. So we had a number of interviews from a stakeholder, key leader, user group, focus group standpoint, and we largely kept to 3 core questions. What are the things you love? The strengths of San Clemente, which are many. I couldn't obviously list everyone here. Opportunities for improvement, and your top priority. We asked the same thing in the community workshops as well. We had over 140 plus people, both at the public meetings here in the Rec Center, as well as one at Maxburg Plaza Park, just in the open. So we had English and Spanish public meetings and respondents as well. And across both types of forums, we had a very similar, if you may, theme that came up. In terms of strengths, they love the beaches, they love the pier, they love the fact that there's a variety of offerings, there's something for everybody. The parks were clean and well maintained, and the Vista Hermosa Park came up a number of times as well. People love Courtney Sandcastle. So they're very appreciative of all that the city has done and what you keep providing for just families as a whole and people of all ages. In terms of opportunities, and this is in no order of priority, this is just things we heard from everybody as well. A number of different things came up from broader issues as looking at sand erosion and how do we mitigate, balance that. Doors on the restrooms as well on the beaches, to specific areas such as pickleball, or what do we possibly do with the meadow at Vista Hermosa? What kind of activities could possibly go there? Trail connectivity, or as well as connecting different parks within the system through a network as well, were things that came up. And then we said, what would be the number one priority? If you were to say from this plan in the next 5, maybe 10 years, here's the one thing more than anything else you'd love for the city, for the staff, for the leaders to help achieve, what would it be? And the top 2 from the stakeholder standpoint were 1, sand replenishment and a sustainable plan for that. And two, as leaders, as one would expect, you wanted to know what your community wants so you can be responsive to it. When we asked that to the community, at that point in time, these were some of the things that came up. Just at that point, expanded swim lessons or just additional swim hours, skateboarding opportunities, and just the perception of safety. Just feeling that everywhere we go, it's safe to use and our kids can be there as well. Now again, this is subjective, so we're responding to the ones who showed up and the answers they gave, and it's not right or wrong, but if you had 50 people like me in the audience for these meetings, you better believe the most important thing in San Clemente is cricket fields, which isn't true, but that's why it's subjective, and we have to balance that with a scientific, statistically valid process, hence the survey. So this is where similar questions, but a much more expanded sort of list of questions were asked. It was done 3 months ago, so it's very recent, but at a point in time, and all the mumbo jumbo, the margin of error, the confidence level, all that means is for anything to be valid, we've got to be able to replicate the process over and over again and get results that are largely similar. So what this tells us is 95% level of confidence means if I were to do this 100 times, 95 out of 100 times, the results you're about to see will be in a margin of error of plus or minus 4.4%, or what you're going to see here. The really, really encouraging part is to be statistically valid for our population, we needed 325 completed surveys. This is probably the largest number by which we have exceeded the survey responses across the country. It was phenomenal. The response from the community was tremendous, right? So we just kept collecting, if it's more, we'll take as many as we get. Keep in mind, this was random. This was anonymous, so people can't control who gets it. That's what keeps it valid. But they ensure that the sample mirrors the demographics of San Clemente. So it's split from a gender standpoint, from an income level standpoint, from an age segment standpoint, from a race and ethnicity standpoint. So it truly mirrors our entire community and what it comprises as well. So some key responses or some key findings, if you may. We asked them from a programmatic standpoint, what do you or members of your household have a need for, right? What's most important for you? And some of the ones, the top ones that came up were special events, fitness and wellness programs, programs on the beach, swim lessons, painting, drawing classes, dance and performing arts, among others, right? Parallel to that, we asked the same thing for facility or amenities to say, what's most important to you or members of your household? And in many ways, fairly similar, right? Trails, walking, biking, beach trails were by far the most important amenity to all the households, followed by just conservation of open space, right? Preserving the balance between active and developed space to just keeping conserved green space, open space as well. Dog beach, or just dog areas as well, for pet owners, small neighborhood parks, and a swimming pool were things that were most important to them and members of their households, right? And part of this, and there are multiple questions in the survey, as you go along, you'll see others too. For every one of these, we followed up with another question that said, do you have a need for something? And then we said, to what extent is your need being met? And then we asked about the importance. So when we come back to you in a couple of months, we will develop priority rankings for these results. And the reason that's important is, if you ask me, is water really important to me or members of my household? Absolutely is. Do I need water? 100%. Is my need for water currently unmet? No, I already have enough. So don't give me more and more water, but don't take this away from me either. So in some ways, there are things you've done a very good job providing. So if you look at sports fields, you look at some of the elements here, baseball, softball fields, soccer fields, etc. They're important. People need it, but you've done a better job providing for those needs compared to, let's say, trail connectivity or just beach trails, etc. Hence, they end up being higher, right, to some extent. So those are things that when you think in terms of priorities, it's the combination of what's important and from that, what's still an unmet need that will eventually rise to the top. Now, all these needs are fabulous, but how willing are they to participate and what's stopping them currently? So we asked them about the reasons why they didn't participate in a program during the past 12 months. The first one was too busy or not interested. It's not much you can do about that. Sometimes we feel that's almost a cop-out, right? People make time for what they want to. Yeah, so it is what it is. But the other two are really interesting. The second one says, I do not know what is being offered, right? So lack of awareness prevents 1 out of every 5 people from participating in our programs. Nationally, it's one of the top 3 reasons why people don't participate. So it's not a surprise, but in a way, it's an easier opportunity to fix. If people said we didn't have the right facilities, well, that would be a bigger problem, right? In Indiana, the biggest reason people don't come is we don't have a beach. Well, I can't do anything about it. Yeah. So that and the next one, which is inconvenient facility or program times, right? Part of that is just resources, having additional staff to expand the hours, to go into the evening hours or weekends, that would be important. But those are things that, with your leadership as well, with the staff, are easier to be fixed compared to some of the bigger ones. And we've got about 40% of the population that's not participating in something because of one of those 2 reasons. Yes, sir.
So there's a term in there that says fees are too high.
Uh-huh.
Now, something that I think statistically would be challenging is for someone to admit that they can't afford something. And so I'm assuming fees are too high isn't necessarily a cost benefit, but as much as affordability. Was affordability one of the questions or one of the options on this? And is that captured as part of this your analysis here?
Good point. So fees are too high is probably the extent to which the affordability question was pushed. Largely, that response as a barrier to participation nationally is between 15 to 20%. So in our case, actually, it's lower than average. Usually we'll see like an 80-20 split, where 20% of the population might say that some level of fees are too high, and that's where we try to institute more of the scholarship programs to help support those who can. So in our case, actually, the number is even lower than average.
So at 12%, your average is 15 to 20, and we're at 12%
Yes, sir.
on
Yes.
that. And that's kind of a catch-all for that affordability index for you?
Precisely,
Thank you.
yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So then past the barriers, we looked at the same thing for parks, beaches, or trails, and by far the number one here was lack of parking. Just having possible or access to parking itself prevented most people. And then the next one is, again, I'm not aware of the location of parks or trails, right?
I have to ask a question. Was
course.
Brad Malamud sent one of these questionnaires? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
And we'd like to send him the results, I think. I think we should.
But, here to, again, sort of a...
Was this before or after that we had our trolley going?
This is before, yeah. Yeah, this is spring, so it's definitely before, yeah. So again, the second one here is still, lack of awareness. I don't know where parks or trails are, which is consistent with what we heard before. The third one gives me a little pause, right, which is do not feel safe going to parks, trails, or beaches. That's 17%, right? I see that number to be less than 10% nationally, right? I've been here enough times, I don't feel unsafe in San Clemente. But as you very well know, sometimes perception becomes reality. Somebody may have heard of something else in one incident somewhere at a point in time. So anyways, that's something to be mindful of, whether it's more eyes. There are apps out there now that allow people to share feedback in real time, to report issues as well through pictures, videos from GPS locations. So wherever there could be some ways to sort of alleviate that, it would be important not just for people who live here, but also we know how many people visit the city as well. And, we can't control the shock attacks, but this is something we can control, right? Or just the presence, rather. I wouldn't say the attacks, but so. The encouraging part at the very bottom is a third of them said nothing, right? That's a pretty high number where, over a third of them close to said there's nothing that stops them from coming. So a large number of them do enjoy and visit our parks, trails, beaches frequently as well. Last 2 points here, we asked them for actions they would like to see funded, right? And that's really the key piece here to say what would they want. Improve the existing beach trail system was the number one. Developing new paved walking, biking, beach trail areas. So improve existing, develop new trails, beach trails access, and then restroom facilities, particularly at the beaches, or adding new ones at certain parks as well, were among the most, let's say, the highest priorities that they would want to have funded for the future. And then having just acquiring additional land or preserving land for open space and conservation was important for them as well. Level of support was really a mixed bag. They want you and their support funding it, but they weren't so sure that they would want to fund it themselves. So, some of it now looks at how can we identify other income or earned revenue sources beyond, let's say just tax and user fees to supplement that. And that's a conversation we're having nationally, right? What else can be done from a partnership standpoint, sponsorship, advertising, without cannibalizing the culture of the city? But still looking at ways to generate additional funding sources is certainly a conversation and something we would look at in the master plan as well. So in summary, people love the variety and what we have. They certainly would want to see more, but largely maintain what we've got and preserve what we've got versus build a lot of new things too. Lack of awareness is a big barrier, and especially when it comes to visiting parks, facilities, beaches, the perception of safety to some extent. They do want to fund these improvements. They do want to fund restrooms as well, but not sure if the community itself would want to and wants us to look at other sources too. So I'll stop with that. I'm happy to turn over for questions, and I'll end with next steps after that.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
so my pleasure. So just a quick summary from here on. We're going to identify the levels of service based on all the amenities we have, as well as what we have access to in the community through schools, other service providers. Translate that into equity mapping to show how things are distributed, which in turn will allow us to identify how much more of what kind of facility, amenity, park, trail, etc. would we need, which will then translate into a capital improvement plan and the dollars that go with it. And lastly, we'll tie all that together into a vision action plan that says in the next 3, 5, 10 years, from a facility, park, maintenance, operations, funding, marketing, communications, programming standpoint, what are the goals, strategies, and tactics, and what would success look like, and who's responsible for it. So then you have accountability, and over a period of time, you can see if the plan's doing what it's supposed to do. So we'll come back in the next 2 or 3 months for that.
The one surprise for me, this is really well done, thank you very much. The role of open space and how important that is to our community, we're roughly 50, by design, we're master planned to be about 50%
True.
open space, and to see it pop up at that level.
Yeah.
I will be really interested to hear your thinking on how, whether that lives in the Beaches, Parks, and Recreation Master Plan, or if that's a different idea that we need to take seriously in different ways. It's also especially timely because we're being challenged with a free paid road potentially coming in and encroaching our open space. So I would be very interested in special attention to that item.
That's fine, and I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
I had a comment to make. So
Go ahead.
Tim
I
and
know
I
what it is,
spearheaded
too.
the southern extension of the trail, which would link another trail to it, which would be fantastic for the community. And being that Bill Cameron just retired, we have no opposition left in city staff. So hopefully we can look at extending the beach trail south to the state
That
park.
was the sound of the bus running over Bill Cameron.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind. That was the number one response.
He still consults.
He does, yeah.
Okay.
Bill is the man. But I do love that idea.
Just to be fair, his concern was rain, and everyone knows it doesn't rain in San Clemente, so really. Yeah.
Mayor, Councilmember, thank you very much.
much.
Bye.
Good. Did you want to make a motion to receive and file that report?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Dunchak, second by Brown, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Next item is presentation by Samantha Thomas, Recreation Manager, recognizing the Friends of San Clemente Beaches Parks and Recreation Foundation for its contributions to the city.
Good evening again, Samantha Thomas, Recreation Manager. I am very honored and pleased to bring a quick presentation that honors our wonderful Friends of San Clemente Beaches, Parks, and Recreation Foundation. I want to highlight quickly what they do and also acknowledge their funding that they've provided for 2017. It amounts to about $45,000 that they're giving back to us, so we're very grateful for that. Some of the events that they contribute to include Springtacular. They do all the kids' activities in the egg hunt, Cinco de Mayo, the children's activities, the music and movie series, Series, Red Ribbon Parade, as well as Santa's Village by the Sea, they fund the Snow Hill, which is obviously a great big part of this community. They also, that component to affordability in our programs, they fund a lot of our scholarship program. This includes any recreation class that anybody wants to come and take. As long as they're income qualifying, they can participate, and we're gonna give them money to do that. And that's due to the Friends. We also fund the scholarship program for Swim and Learn, which is essentially a free swim program for any low-income child. They get bused to Vista Hermosa. They get that free transportation. The Friends help with that. And that happens every year, and it fills up every year. We serve about 50 to 60 kids every summer, and that's going on right now. And then they also give scholarships towards our after-school programs. That would be our middle school programs that you see on campuses, our Goal Zone sports program, and any other program that goes on at a school campus. There's a lot of funding towards that. The last thing that they fund, and probably the biggest, is our Fun on the Run mobile recreation program. This, as you guys know, was previously funded by a variety of different hospitals, and when that funding was lost, the Friends stepped in and picked up that missing piece, and they've been really great in continuing to fundraise for that, as well as in conjunction with that is our Swim and Learn program that's run through Fun on the Run. And that because those kids get those lessons for free, we're still able to recoup our costs and still cover our staff costs without losing any money on that. So I'm going to turn it over to John Dory, who's the president of the Friends right now. He's going to talk a little bit about the fundraising and the events that they have coming up to help support the Great Foundation.
City Council, Mayor Ward. Thank you, Samantha. Without Samantha's help, we would be treading water. The staff at the Parks Rec Department has been spectacular in helping us focus on what we need to do for our community. I watched with interest the pie charts up there, and one of them was how are we going to pay for this, so to speak? And some people are not supportive of it, but you got to keep. But they have a lot of needs. They have a lot of desires. They have wishes, so to speak. And we're here to help the city, help the community in finding that bridge for funding. One of the things we do is we have a golf tournament, which happens to be on Friday. And it starts at 12:30. We've got 100 people signed up. We have room for another 15 or 20 more. We usually get about 10 or 15 walk-ons. So if anybody out there wants to walk on, we can probably make room for you. And that's, we raise about $20,000 to $25,000 there. We also put on with the city the carnival, which happens in October. That's the 12th to the 15th. And we raise approximately $25,000 to $30,000 there. So that's where we get the bulk of our money, which we then turn around and give back to the city for the projects that you saw presented here this afternoon, this evening. We are a group that has about 10 people on our board. We cover a lot of the territory where we put ourselves out there to help the community. And we get a lot out of it, and going to these programs that we put out, and just see the interaction of the kids who show up and the families that show up. The things that we do down by the pier with regards to the concerts that's put on by us. A lot of people don't know who we are. They see these things, don't realize that we help participate in them. In the carnival on Thursday, we are going to set aside a few hours for children who have special needs. And last year was our first time doing this, where we had autistic kids come down. They turned the music down, they turned the volume down, they slowed the rides down, and we're going to do that again this year. We work with Courtney Sandcastle Group. It's just a wonderful, wonderful project that we help bring in the community, and we're going to see that grow year after year. So I thank you very much. I could sit up here for another half hour and talk about these things that you've got a program to put on. So thank you very much for recognizing. I want to thank Eric Sund also, who works with the Parks Department and with us for putting together such great staff and helps us interact with our community and with the City Council. Thank you so much.
Did you
Yeah,
have a comment?
yeah. I just wanted to mention, since it was, we just posted, I believe, in the last week or so, my Around the Town, my first one for the city, and it was all on the Friends Foundation, which I happen to be one of the original people that helped write the bylaws for the thing. So I've back when I was on the Parks and Rec Commission. So I'm very supportive. If you guys don't understand or know what they do and want to learn more, you can look at my video where most it's them talking, and check it out. They're always looking for people, for volunteers and people to participate and help the cities.
John, we really appreciate all that
You're here.
they do.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. Okay.
Next is an update by staff concerning the proposed toll road.
I'll turn this over to the city attorney for an update.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we were asked to talk about some of the legal strategies that the council asked us to investigate with regard to the proposed alignments of a SR 241 extension, a toll road through two alignments that are under consideration for, that really bisect the city of San Clemente. So with council's concurrence, we were instructed to outline the city's legal position in the following regards and to raise these issues with TCA's general staff and general counsel. I just want to summarize these briefly, not give too much information about our legal theories, but these are all, we think, flaws in the existing proposal and would merit removing those two alignments from proposal immediately. The first is that TCA is authorized by its charter to construct environmentally sensitive highways, that these two highways would bisect environmental habitat that's been set aside by Measure V. A local initiative measure passed in 2007 is, we think, an indication that those alignments would be inconsistent with TCA's charge to construct environmentally sensitive highways. I don't know how they could be more inconsistent. A joint powers agency is really a partnership among member agencies where they take powers that they exercise individually and pool those to exercise in common. As I mentioned previously, the City Council of the City of San Clemente is not able or authorized under Measure V to build highways through open space. And so our argument and demand to TCA will be that where this City Council lacks the authority to build that road, this City Council can never have intended to share that power with its partnership at TCA. The other issue that we have with the proposed alignment is that some of it can and will be in city ownership. A large swath of one of those alignments is property actually owned by the city. And the city's response to any proposal to do that would be that those properties are not for sale, and they will, in fact, never be for sale, and that the TCA and Caltrans as a partner could never show a more important public use than the use to which those properties are committed, which is open space protected by the local electorate. TCA's development fee right now on residential and commercial development has as part of its foundation the green alignment that has been abandoned by TCA. So we expect very soon to have some dialogue with TCA about its inability to demand that we continue to collect those fees while the basis for those fees has been abandoned by the settlement agreement they entered into last year. We also intend to discuss with them the notion of abandoning or vacating Los Patrones. This is a roadway dedicated as a public street for the benefit of our citizens that allows access through Rancho San Clemente. Los Patrones roads, as a public street, cannot be committed to private toll use. And by the way, the Environmental Review and Clean Water Act certifications for construction of that road do not contemplate its conversion to a private street or as opposed to a public street. Last but not least, we are working in cooperation with local homeowners associations, actually all local homeowners associations. Much of the open space that's protected in San Clemente is protected by private homeowners associations. The city council has authorized us to engage with those homeowners associations about creating and conservation easements, open space and view shed easements that the city would participate in owning and facilitating. One plan that we're pursuing with them is to not only create conservation easements, but to participate as partners with those HOAs and nonprofits in restoration of that open space to prime open space and native open space. So we're working very closely with those associations and their lawyers about those plans to enhance that open space and put it in protective public easements. That's a summary of, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot of investigation research. Oh, I should mention also that along those alignments, much of that open space is protected by mitigation agreements, where master developers agreed to dedicate that property as to be used as open space and environmental protection. And where there are agreements between those property owners. These date back, some of them clear to the 70s. There are agreements between those owners, those master developers, and the resource agencies that we believe are enforceable by the city. So that even if those federal and state agencies decided to sell out or abandon those mitigation plans, we believe the city has the ability to demand that those agreements stay in place for the protection of its residents, and we will invoke on your behalf our ability to preserve those and to keep those in effect. The idea being there is that if property is dedicated and set aside perpetually as mitigation for site-specific impacts in those channels and canals and slopes and knolls, that it can't be abandoned and moved to some far-off location that no longer has any association with the original impact or footprint of the development. So that's it in a nutshell. We'll be reporting back periodically. Oh, I forgot one thing. TCA has indicated and did in public workshops that it intends to scope an environmental document on these proposed alignments. Again, we'll be demanding that they not bother with that with regard to the San Clemente alignments. But we've also, with community development staff, identified a roster of about 25 to 30 disciplines, experts and consultants across a wide array of disciplines, including one that you retained at your last meeting to look at photo simulations of the freeway. There are about 34 more of those consultants. Some of them are already under contract with the city. Some of them will need to be engaged and retained by this fall. But we're actively working on staff on getting those contracts to you and getting those ducks lined up so that we have experts at your avail as soon as they daylight any of the environmental documents that they're working on.
Thank you. I know we wanted to get that out to the public. We've been wanting to say it for a while, so I appreciate that
And,
update.
and I'd also like to add for people that are trying to understand how this fits in the broader strategy, the city's committed to putting our own option together, which we're calling the arterial solution, and that would be ways to move people around South County and San Clemente without the need of bigger, better freeways or paid toll roads. And city staff is working on that, and the intention would be to feed that into the planning process as our preferred alternative.
And one more thing I meant to bring up in closed session is that some of those canyons are actually ancient landslide areas, and that we would have a major concern of any construction in those areas creating movement in undeveloped area.
Okay, we have several cards on this. Because we have several cards and we still have our meeting ahead of us, if I call your name, would you please line up behind the other person and talk? The first speaker will be Kate, and I'm sorry, Vajdas, I'm not sure. Michelle Schumacher is the second speaker, followed by Laura Conoval.
Hi, my name is Kate Wojtusz. I am here as a resident of San Clemente, here tonight to ask you to start taking legal action, just like we were talking about. I'm appreciative that we actually discussed that earlier today, to prevent the TCA from getting any closer to San Clemente. I've talked to you guys a few times here at city council meetings. I have a medical background. I'm an ER physician. I went as a neuroscience major at Amherst College. I went to Dartmouth Medical School, and then I came out here for residency in emergency medicine. I've spent most of my life promoting lifelong learning and health. So I have been interested in finding more about these plans from the TCA, specifically initially from this health perspective, specifically the fact that we're in close proximity to schools and homes, and we have a negative health effect here to our residents. In my quest for knowledge, I've been increasingly concerned that the statements from our town is not going to be enough. We're going to need to put in legal action, so I'm appreciative that we're talking about that today. I have, over the last months, learned, and I think our key issue at this point, our key issue at this point is one that you mentioned. I think that right now, if we can start this legal battle and battle over at Los Patrones, rather than letting it get closer to us, I think that is a key issue. The last week, what I've understood is that the Los Patrones Parkway has already been built to toll road specifications. That very much concerns me. We've picked up some information that back in 1997 is when some of the land next to Tesoro High School was actually deeded over to Rancho Mission Viejo. I expect that was because of grading to make it to toll road specs. This means that we're about 20 years behind. This was in 1997. They were already planning for that at that time. I think, again, this is a key battle, and we cannot let this road go from free to toll. And that's what I'd like to focus on but in general, I'd like to say that this legal action, legal battles have to come from many fronts, and I think we need to get started very soon. I specifically, with my medical background, I just wanted to remind you of the key effects related to health. I expect that the health effects that we would see from having a road close to us, a toll road, would not just be short-term, it would be long-term, and it would follow people, job, quality of life, and life itself. Car pollution is the single largest source of air pollution in the United States. These are associated with, from prenatal period, pregnant moms have an increased likelihood of high blood pressure, preeclampsia. Fetuses exposed to increased levels of pollution are more likely to be born early. They have ill effects associated with prematurity, way less at birth, increased risk of behavior, learning, and autism problems. Children that are exposed have greater risk of asthma, and they end up more in the hospital more due to serious health effects in asthma. Sorry. So in adults, heart disease, stroke, lung problems, memory problems, and shorter life expectancy. And then I wanted to say that finally, exposure to air toxins account for half of all cancers that are caused by air pollution. So simply stated, we support you. I hope, we know that you support us. Thank you for your hard work so far, but I think that the legal battle needs to start now. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Thank you so much for being unanimously opposed to the toll road. My name is Michelle Schumacher. I'm the founder of San Clemente Not My Toll Road and Not My Toll Road, and we have a few asks for you guys tonight. We're hoping to get everyone engaged and on board in getting this stopped. I understand a task force was going to be formed. We're asking for 2 task force. We're asking for an education task force with Chris Ham and Tim Brown, and for a toll road task force with Lori and Kathy Ward. Just to then have the committees, the planning committee, the Parks and Recreation Committee, any other committees available at your disposal, which I understand can have 3 members, join you, because this is so big. There's so much information out there. You know, we have another battle. We need to kind of man up and lawyer up. So please, form some task force, and hopefully one can be for education of the city. We get a lot of feedback a lot of the time that a lot of people still don't know in San Clemente what's going on, and I think that the city could do a lot with that and have more access than what we've been able to do online with Facebook and other groups. So, you know, Lori's on the OTCA and Kathy's already on the TCA, that transportation experience, and those agencies being able to be represented, I think they're like an ideal team together. So that's our first ask. And then the second thing is we really just want litigation. I don't know if you can sell a piece of land or if we can get a special tax on the ballot. We need some lawsuits. We need to lawyer up to get this stopped. Another ask is that we're hoping that the city's investment portfolio does not include Morgan Stanley or the Bank of Mellon, who have funded the junk bonds and refinanced them. I think it's time to give them the boot if this is what those funds are being used for. So definitely in support of a small tax ballot measure, however we can do it. I also think, given some discussions we've been having, that it's imperative that an environmental attorney would be retained in conjunction with whoever you guys are already working with, just to make sure the bases are covered. We know that that's stopped this in the past, so I think that's an important component not to overlook. And I just want to thank you for, you know, being opposed. And then I thought it would be interesting for you to hear a little summary about that public forum on June 5th. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of what Kathy's already heard at the TCA meeting. But the various conditions imposed by the TCA to participate: forced removal of items of clothing or accessories, seizure of personal items like papers, note cards, our questions, searches of personal property without consent, threats of denied participation or police enforcement. Those denied public forum access were left to comment alone to a video or court reporter. But even that free speech was stifled by an inappropriate release the TCA required public to sign, giving fine print authority the TCA to modify and manipulate public opinions as they chose. Many people walked away when they saw this. So it was just a huge civil rights infringement day, and very disappointing. No public input, flawed process, no trust.
Before you speak, I'm going to call the next 3 people: Joanna Matthews, Tom Hackett, and Elizabeth Corder. If you could come up behind. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council and Mayor Ward. My name is Laura Conoval. I'm an 11-year resident of San Clemente. One key issue that is not mentioned by the TCA that I've seen is the public safety impacts of the proposed toll road in San Clemente. There are studies done by the National Highway Transportation Board that point out the expected public safety impacts of every mile of road in urban, suburban, and rural areas. From a public safety perspective, car accidents on freeways are labor-intensive. Every accident requires a police or highway patrol response, fire engines, and an ambulance to respond. The engines respond in opposing directions to locate the incident. Responding crews that arrive first begin scene stabilization and treatment of victims. Second engine takes a position behind the first to further enhance crew protection and scene safety, then assist with the stabilization of victims and mitigation of the incident. The police response is geared towards scene safety and preliminary investigation into origin and cause of the accident. Every incident on a highway is unique, and they always require many people to stabilize. I bring this up for this reason. There has been no discussion on the public safety impacts on the proposed TCA toll road extension through San Clemente. Using this example and assuming the incident takes 45 minutes to render safe, that means that 2/3 of the available resources in San Clemente would be tied up with the toll road managing that incident, leaving 2/3 of the city without an effective fire force for other issues. Under this scenario, response times for medical emergencies would suffer greatly, as would response times for structure fires and other emergency incidents. These degraded response times will have potential deadly effect. In addition, Highway Patrol and OC Sheriff's deputies will also be tied up for extended periods of time and unable to respond to calls for service or take proactive crime prevention efforts in the community that pays for their services. The bottom line here is that this potential toll road will create an unfunded mandate on our local community, including San Clemente and surrounding areas, to have to deal with the inevitable incidents that will occur, leaving our community without the resources that we pay for and expect in an emergency. The operational plans for public safety in our community does not consider the needs to have to respond to a new freeway. In addition to these safety concerns, environmental items are definitely a part of what we're all concerned about, specifically endangered species such as the gnatcatcher. And I would hope that this is on record that we want this studied and a complete EIR to be completed by the TCA. And lastly, I circle back with what Michelle and Kate said, that we implore you as our city council members to please take legal action. Very happy to hear that there is a strategy coming together, but this is dire. We see them in our hillsides. Our community we're in an emergency situation, so please and thank you for your consideration.
Hi, I'm Joanna Matthews. I've lived in San Clemente for about 6 years now. We live in Forster Ranch, so basically my house is between two alignments, proposed alignments. And one of the reasons my family and I moved here from Huntington Beach 6 years ago was because of the open spaces, the parks, the beach trails, the recreation. It's very family friendly. So definitely it astounds me that this is all being threatened. And so anyways, I joined the coalition to save San Clemente, and I've written to and emailed our supervisor, our governor, Caltrans, Orange County Transit Authority, a lot of people. And anyways, basically I got a response back from OCTA, which is basically telling me it's the responsibility of the TCA board of directors to determine what, if any, connection is selected, and that they're supportive of the current technical and public process to further define how SR 241 could connect to I-5, and basically any concern should be addressed to the TCA. So this was a very disappointing letter in general, because to me it just seems like they're giving the freedoms to the TCA to decide whatever they want to do, and it's in their best interest. And I would hope that OCTA would be more of a collaborative team approach in terms with Caltrans and OCTA and TCA in basically determining and studying and finding out what is best for our communities. And then the other email I got back from Caltrans was pretty much the same type of thing, which is just share with TCA your comments and questions. So obviously I've been to a couple of the TCA meetings. I don't really feel like we're getting a lot of support. I feel like Kathy's the only one up there who's pretty much opposing it, and I'm really afraid. I just feel like that there's a lot of power and control, and it's not in our best interest. So I really I'm glad that, we're talking about legal action and being aggressive, because I kind of feel like they're the boulder rolling down the hill and they're destroying everything in their path. And we need to stop that. We need to do it for a community, for a future, for everybody. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Tom Hackett. I've been a homeowner here since 1995, and I'm very comfortable being here tonight among opponents of the proposed tollway by the TCA through San Clemente. If I were to go up to Irvine and look south, I'm probably among proponents as I look south towards the 5 and anticipate, if you will, the funnel effect that occurs in San Clemente. But someone that's using the 5 to try and move south probably shouldn't ask the TCA for help, because the TCA does not address mobility. The TCA is in the business of building toll roads. So the question I have for the City Council tonight is, if mobility were to actually be explored and we were to educate our fellow South Orange County citizens to the north, we might want to look at North San Diego County and what they organize between La Jolla and Oceanside, enhancing the 5 with 2 commuter lanes, north and south, enhancing the rail system for commuters, and there's also biking and walking enhancement as well. So my question would be this: if you look at what happens when you're heading south, the backup is between San Clemente and Oceanside. So the question would be, is it possible to create relief of that backup by leveraging possible commuter lanes north and south on the 5 and or enhanced rail options that would actually address the mobility issue, as opposed to building roads that aren't needed or necessary? Thank you very much.
Hi, Mayor Ward and City Council. My name is Elizabeth Corder, and I've been a San Clemente resident for over 30 years. I'm here tonight to ask you to stand up and fight for the city of San Clemente against the toll road. We do appreciate and acknowledge your letter of opposition and vocal concerns to the TCA so far. However, the time has come for more powerful action than words alone. In the Toll Road PSA, you urged all residents to oppose all alignments through San Clemente because they would change the character of our town forever. You called the entire city to arms to ensure that we don't have another freeway like the I-5 cutting San Clemente right down the middle. You asked us to stand up and fight because we would be impacted by this toll road that's being proposed to destroy the city of San Clemente. You warned us that this would put our community into an area of traffic that is not sustainable and will affect many homeowners, schools, parks, and golf courses that have been here for decades. Mayor Ward, you asked us to support you by dropping everything on our family schedules and showing up at the public forum on June 5th. You said you wanted to make statements to the TCA that San Clemente won't stand for this, but you said you couldn't make those statements unless we were there to support you. Well, at least 2,000 of us were there when you asked us to be. You asked us to spread the word, to educate the city, and we did that and continue to do that. We called, we emailed by the thousands. We canvassed miles of neighborhoods. You asked us to show up for you, and we did. Now we stand here asking and waiting for you, our leaders, to step in front of us and do the same thing. We need you to lead, to protect the residents and our city as you were elected to do. It is imperative that you take legal action now to protect San Clemente from these catastrophic proposals. We know the city is involved in other litigation, and the cost of a lawsuit, yes, would be high. But what is the cost of not filing one? What is the cost of the devastation the toll road would bring to our city, our homes, our property values, families, children, our health and schools, our wildlife and open spaces, and our overall quality of life? As Mr. Brown pointed out, to the character of San Clemente as we know it. Obviously, we all know it can be done, as South Pasadena has been fighting this fight for over 40 years against the 710 freeway. So I ask you, what kind of legacy as a council do you want to leave behind? In years to come, what will the people of San Clemente and Southern California remember you for? Do you want to be remembered as the mayor and council who just sat by and allowed this atrocity to destroy us, or hopefully as the leaders who rallied their city behind them and stepped up like South Pasadena did to fight this battle and save our city? I implore you, please do not let San Clemente be sacrificed because of your inability to act now. And of course, on that note, thank you. We all are overjoyed to hear the legal avenues you're pursuing, and we all urge you to take advantage of every single one of them now. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers, please come up and stand behind the other. First speaker is Ashley Fox. Second speaker is Steve Netherby, followed by Mark McGuire.
Good evening, Mayor Ward and Council. For those of you I have not met, my name is Ashley Fox, and I've been a resident, local business owner, and homeowner of San Clemente for the past 14 years. Over the last 3 months, myself, along with many passionate and committed community members, have worked tirelessly to bring the latest threat by the Transportation Corridor Agency to light. While many, including myself, in our community rejoiced when the settlement was reached, none of us were aware of the implications this would have on our city and the neighboring communities. Now that many in the community have become aware of the TCA's impending plans, there is an immense amount of fear and discord within the community as we see our homes, our financial well-being, our health, the health of our children, as well as our quality of life being threatened. As a city, you have asked us to get involved due to financial limitations the city faces as a result of pending litigation. We have done that. Those of us that have been involved in this fight have managed to raise funds and are continuing to solicit money towards this fight. However, with little direction from the city leaders, the vision has become blurred. We need the city to take the lead and give us a clear direction to prevent divisions down the road or in the future. As our elected officials and city leaders, I implore you to publicly endorse a strategy or strategies and help us as a community come together in solidarity to defeat this threat once and for all. We have coalitions, Facebook pages, donations, and a lot of grassroots community involvement. We are community members, mothers, fathers, and business owners, not politicians or attorneys. Can the city endorse a clearly defined strategy so our community can stand united, not divided, and direct our efforts towards this cause in a cohesive and balanced manner? Can the city formulate a trust so that the concerned citizens and communities who wish to contribute can do so without fear of misappropriation of funds? It is your job as our elected leaders to give us guidance, and the only way that we will preserve our town and defeat this latest threat by the TCA is through your clear leadership and direction. Again, I am here to ask you to endorse a clearly defined strategy and provide the community with a trust account or some other safe vehicle to direct their funds towards this fight. Thank you.
Steve Netherby, 44-year resident of San Clemente and 18-year anti-toll road activist. Here we go again, or rather, here we keep going again. Here in brief are my personal feelings on the matter of the zombie-like resurrection of the toll road proposals. First, I couldn't be more pleased about the new avoidance area that Don O'Neill Land Conservancy, Trestles, our two state parks, and much of the eastern San Clemente backcountry has been protected from a toll road. I understand that some city leaders are upset about, and others are upset about the agreement, but I don't think they have taken fully into account the recreational, environmental, economic, and quality of life value of those lands and waters to the city's citizens of and visitors to our town. I fully agree that handcuffing the Save San Onofre Coalition is a steep price to pay for that protection, but saving that country is, to my mind, worth the cost. And new citizens coalitions are already rising up, as you've seen, with incendiary fervor to defend our communities and our remaining open space. Second, it's my opinion that the remaining TCA proposals, except the no-build option, are profane and existential threats to the soul of San Clemente and our neighbor communities, and by extension, our two state parks. Yes, the parks, despite the fact that they're in TCA's avoidance area. As environmental author Barry Commoner famously said, everything is connected to everything else. There's no such thing as a free lunch. The TCA targeted open spaces and watersheds are crucial constituents of the wildlife, wild plant, wild water, wild land network of which our San Onofre and San Clemente state beaches are prime pieces. Our precious and irreplaceable parks, their biological diversity, air and water quality, freedom from additional noise and light pollution, their value to people and the planet are in dire threat from any of the toll roads proposed. The proposals have everything to do with our parks. You hikers, mountain bikers, fitness runners, moms and dads, nature lovers, family campers, oh yes, and surfers, it's my hope that we all will add saving the integrity of our state parks to the long list of reasons why all the TCA's mindless, soulless toll road proposals are unacceptable. Finally, let's face it, TCA's true mission is to perpetuate its existence and to justify the obscene amounts of money it's managed to corral. It's driven to lay concrete, and it could care less about the quality of life, wild or human, in South Orange County. It's well established that more roads don't equate to less traffic. Picture LA at rush hour. We must throw all available resources, especially our newly mobilized people power, behind the no-build option and ultimately behind a drive to abolish the TCA.
Good evening, Mayor Ward, members of the council. This is Mark McGuire, and I'm very happy to be here. Last council meeting, I was the only one that spoke on the toll road, so this is fantastic. I didn't know any of these people were going to be here. I was going to cover a topic. I committed to cover a topic every meeting, 3 minutes. So now I'm going to segue straight to the topic that I think is most pressing at hand, because you hear this angst and this desire for action, and I support all the strategies that City Attorney Smith has articulated, and happy to tag team with them in documenting that. But some of those claims can't really be brought until they're ripe. But the claim that's front and center right now is regarding Los Patrones Parkway. And Los Patrones was built as a free road, and yet there's every indication that the TCA wants to try to convert that into a segment of the toll road. And that claim is if it's not ripe today, it will be ripe tomorrow. I think, frankly, it's ripe today. And why do we care? I mean, obviously, we care for two reasons, I think. One, if you bring the toll road any closer, it just gets that much closer, and they try to build that momentum. But more importantly, I think, is that as a free road, it provides much more traffic relief than as a toll road. And if the TCA is serious about mobility, then they would allow that to be a free road and not a toll road. And we're not talking about 100 more trips, 22,000 more trips based on the TCA's own study when they did the Tesoro extension. 22,000 more trips if it's used as a free road than if it's used as a toll road. And if you use it as a toll road, then that means that you're going to have spillover effects to all the roads that are free, because not everyone's going to pay for the toll road. In fact, a lot of people don't pay for a toll road. 22,000 people aren't going to pay to use it as a toll road. So it's front and center. It's right now. It's an issue that I think does have, we do have leverage, legal leverage, and I think that's a claim that we ought to pursue in earnest as we go forward. And then I'll just, with my 41 seconds left, I think having that road as a free arterial leads straight to the strategy that Councilwoman Donchek was talking about, which is you connect that road up to an additional arterial. Frankly, there is an arterial in the Rancho Mission Viejo master plan called Cristianitos Road on the other side of Ortega. And instead of swinging that, if you look at the master plan right now, it's projected to connect to a toll road that's never going to happen because it would be in the forbidden zone. You flip that backward J toward La Pata, and you've got your arterial solution. So I hope we can pursue that. Thank you.
Our next three speakers, Cord Bauer, followed by Ron Gantos, and that is our last card.
Members of the council, thank you for hearing and listening to us. I'm here without papers, and I really do like what all the other speakers have said, and especially what Mr. McGuire was talking about. I think he has good control of his facts, and one thing I've also heard him say is that in the last 10 years, we have not had an appreciable increase in the traffic on Highway 5. And what we're seeing is a change in the way people work, and therefore we're seeing a change in the way we see traffic patterns. Today, I've got, 2 kids outside and one over there. I'm Mr. Mom today, and I'm Mr. Mom tomorrow. That's the way I choose to live my life. I like it. And I think, one of the reasons I live in San Clemente is the quality of life here. If we wanted to live in Irvine, if we wanted to live in New York City, we could. My wife, she used to work for a very large consulting firm, and the last big job she had, she managed a $500 million deal. we could be in, actually, one of the people that she hired is now the CEO of the company. We could be in New York. I don't want to be in New York. I want to be here. I also want to color in a couple of things that Mr. Smith said. When we bought our house in Forster Highlands, they talked about the open space and the mitigating lands. They actually specifically said one of the reasons they had the mitigating lands was to allow for the animals to go all the way from the mountains, all the way down to the beach. And the thought of having mitigated lands, mitigated again, is foolish. We're very lucky. We're on a single loaded street. We used to have deer that came twice a year, and they don't come anymore since La Pata has been around. I don't know if they're going to come back. We still get the hummingbirds, we still get the kestrels and things like that, but if we're not careful, things are changing. I will end the way that everyone else has ended. We need your firm action. We need your money, which is actually our money as well, in legal funds, and if you don't have anywhere to put it, we've got some very good places where we can fight these guys. They just accepted a $2 million budget for PR. We need to fight back against that, and we're ready to do it. We've put a lot of other things aside just to work on this. We're here to partner. We're here to help. We're here to mobilize. And thank you for your time.
Good evening, Council. I'm going to start by thanking you guys because I'm going to get a little heated and I don't want to forget at the end to thank you for the leadership in this matter and for coming out front and really leading by example here. And I think we need to just continue this. It's a marathon, not a sprint after all. I want to talk about something that doesn't get covered a lot, which is basically a lot of the people that will be impacted. We have over 40 is the medium age in San Clemente. A lot of the people that are in these communities close to where the toll road is going to run will be retirees and seniors. They're needing their value and equity in their homes to leverage for their care in later lives, probably through a reverse mortgage of some sort. Undermining that value, threatening their livelihood, their primary asset, is nothing short of elder abuse. Our community is being terrorized again by an entity that will not get the message that no toll road is needed or wanted here. And when it comes to seniors, and my parents live up on the hill here, and my family is pretty much all in San Clemente, and I look at that, it is unconscionable. And when some of the members that are involved on the TCA board, not members from the city, are out there basically heralding their support for seniors, and at the same token basically supporting something that will undermine the value of homes owned by retirees and seniors. I have had a show on baby boomers for 2 years, and my first guest was Casey Kasem's daughter, Carrie. And she was there to talk to me about the elder abuse that her father suffered at the hands of his second wife. Isolation, undermining, controlling assets, undermining values, eliminating independence, terrorizing and putting things at risk are all actions of somebody who is abusive. We as a community have been abused by this entity over and over, and enough is enough. Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone that came and talked tonight on the toll road. Your passion and your support means everything to us. And it's very moving to me to see people stand up for the city, our residents, as much as we do, every minute of the day. So we hear what you're saying, and we will do our best.
Kathy, do you mind if I ask just a couple of questions, City Attorney, based on some of the public comments? There was the idea has been floated, and it seems to come up quite a bit here, but this idea that somehow that the city lacks funds to raise a legal challenge to the toll road. Perhaps you can address that question for us, because I think there's this idea that we have a legal budget, and because we're spending money here, that we have no money left for litigation. Could you just address the philosophy? Because I know philosophically we've never provided that direction to the city attorney nor the city manager, that we've got a limited bucket of funds ready for this TCA challenge. So could you maybe clarify that for us a little bit?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor and Council. The City Council has taken a hybrid approach to the legal services budget. There's a core day-to-day expense of general services, which is identified with really dark black ink as a budget item. And then there's a contingency set aside on top of that in each year's annual budget for litigation. We hope not to be able to spend it, but we can if need be. Above and beyond, we've come to the council with requests for budget amendments. If those projected funds aren't enough, the council has the ability to get in and amend that. Some of the causes of action that we talked about earlier, I don't want to grant any promises, but if you're working against a public agency as an environmental advocate and prevail in that lawsuit, then you can be entitled as a substitute attorney general to recover attorney's fees in those actions. Again, I don't want anyone to go to the bank on that or promise that, but many of the theories that we've been looking at are in the interest of environmental advocacy, and we think would, in addition to being budgeted for, be recoverable from the defendant agency, in this case TCA.
I do want to make it clear that we have given license and ability and budget to be able to conduct this fight in whatever way that our city attorney, or at least the council, has felt is a wise way to go about it.
Which we document as we go. What we've talked about tonight has been within the realm of what you've approved.
And it's
at
been in
budget
discussion for
sessions,
the past 6 months, so, okay. I just want to make that clear, because it seems to be coming up quite a bit, that somehow the city is economizing and we can't fight. It's not true. It's not true. So we're expending funds, but at the same time, as Mr. McGuire said, there are opportunities that come, and they have to come at the right time and the right moment for there to be a challenge that's done effectively. And so we listen to our attorneys and do the best we can in that regard.
I'm going to echo a little bit of what the mayor said, and I think there might be some holdover from people who were here during our earlier meeting today. And I just want to say one of the things that makes San Clemente so great is that we have a community of individuals that'll stand up, such as yourself, and speak out against what they see as an impropriety against our community. So I want to thank each and every one of you, especially there's a large audience this evening that I haven't seen before. So thank you for taking time out of your day, at your busy schedule, and coming down here and voicing your concerns. With that, one of the issues that I heard this evening was clear direction from our city council. I have a slightly different take on that. One of the women basically spewed out verbatim exactly what I said on the PSA, which was a call to arms. People need to speak out against it. And one of my issues that I have with giving clear direction on what I think the community should do is that we're just 5 people, and the community's 65,000 people. And a perfect example is that is Mr. McGuire, wherever he's at, came and talked about Los Patrones this evening. He's going to come and talk about something tomorrow evening, and he might be completely off base from what me or the rest of this council thinks is a good direction to take. And that was why I called the community to action, because there's 65,000 of us and 65,000 different ideas, and if we all fire together in the same direction, we will win this battle. And so I don't think it's fair that we give the only clear direction. I think as a community, as long as we continue to do what we're going to do, we will be successful. We've been successful in the past, and we will be successful in the future in stopping this. So thank you for coming out this evening, and let's keep fighting.
Yes.
I also just wanted to do a little bit of a roll call of other things we've got, other irons we've got in the fire, because the comment about this being a marathon is right on. First of all, and it's in large part to Councilman Hand's point, to all of you, we have Senator Bates in our corner, we have Assemblymember Breaux in our corner, we have Darrell Issa in our corner, we have Rancho Mission Viejo in our corner, we have some loud voices at the Capistrano Unified School District in our corner, we have HOAs in our corner, and we have very slowly but surely 1 or 2 other cities joining with us, and that's all thanks to the work that many of you in the audience have done, and we are so appreciative. The other thing I mentioned, the arterial solution, it's a terrible thing to say no unless you have a better idea. We are convinced we will be able to come up with a better idea that is realistically right-sized for what the traffic needs are in South County. The other thing is we're working to get our hands on the traffic studies and then get them into your hands so we all understand. The gentleman who said the toll road is in the business of building toll roads. That's what they do. We're in the business of moving our community around to keep our quality of life going. So you'll be hearing a lot about traffic studies. And then finally, I wanted to thank the person who mentioned the South Pasadena story, we're looking at that as a playbook because the point was that was 40 years of determination. And again, to Councilmember Ham's point, we are a strong community. We can do this. So I just wanted to let you know some of the other things that were going on.
And I want to follow up on it. We have been working for a long time on this. One of my first meetings that I had after I joined the council was a meeting with Patricia Bates and Bill Bro, and we discussed this issue, and that's going back 6 months ago. So this isn't something that we have ignored. This is something that we can't at times put out in the public all behind the things we're doing in closed session that we are preparing. One, I don't want to tell the TCA what our playbook is, so they should be able to prepare in advance of us before we do something on a timely basis. So this is something we are working on day in, day out. All 5 of us are dedicated to this fight, and we'll find any and every way that we can to get these people to understand they're not going to break ground in our city. So I just want to reassure that the council has not pulled up any stops. It's a matter of we want to make sure that we are making the right decisions at the right time to be able to maximize the ability to stop them people in their tracks.
Okay, let's move on.
By the way, we've got this agenda item every meeting until the end of time. So we're always going to be talking. I mean, it's going to be on the agenda every meeting. Yeah, so come back. We're going to learn more every meeting. And, we've asked this from the city manager. That's why it's on here. That's why it was on last agenda, and it's on every agenda because it should stay in front of us. So we welcome your thoughts and your enthusiasm. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Me too.
Members of the audience who wish to address council on matters that are within the jurisdiction of the City of San Clemente but not separately listed on the agenda may do so during the oral communications portion of the meeting. A total time limitation of 30 minutes is allocated for oral communications part 1, with each speaker being allotted 3 minutes in which to give his or her presentation.
Okay. So for oral communications, our first speaker is Don Kunze, followed by Melissa Mucci and Richard Noble. Yeah, and please line up.
Mayor, Council, Don Kunze, San Clemente. First off, I'm not understanding why I wasn't able to talk on the agenda item 1A that was on the agenda, because that's what I wanted to talk about, was beaches and parks. And, but it ties in, I think, also with the toll road situation. And Mr. Statistic, that was fine. We have all kinds of statistics and stuff like that. And he said there was about 140 that showed up in meetings and about 400, whatever. If we have 60,000, that's 10% of the population, my math, anyway. One of the things I'm concerned about in statistics is the map that is in the ledger, and I'm concerned of which is green. And I think it's very important that that gets statistic-wise so I know what is green, because I think that's important. Obviously, it came up as number 1, open space, as being very important to the survey takers. Obviously, you've heard it before. In the policy, too, is something called the Quimby Act. And it states that there's 5 acres per 1,000 residents. I don't know with my math, if we have 60,000 people times 5, isn't that 300,000? Open space and trails goals provide a safe environment, sustainable and attractive to open space. We encourage and support the preservation of open space within and adjacent to the city. I had some concerns about, well, if it is green and we have some control over it, I believe we've had in the past, I guess we could cite, wasn't Target parkland, and wasn't that turned over for Vista Hermosa? Don O'Neill Land Conservancy was in the sphere of the city, and they turned that back over to the ranch. I have concerns about those kind of items. And paralleling along with the statistics is the budget proposal, okay, that it states for the next coming year, and that park maintenance is down 27% and beach maintenance is down 47%. I have concerns about that. And under recreation, aquatics states that it's going up 284%. I have some problems regards to that, and rather than seeing it in your webpage or that, I'd like to see some town hall meetings regards to this. And I guess finally, that brings me back down to, like everybody else states, California state law requires that the general plan include two different but complementary chapters addressing natural resources. Number one, the conservation element, and two, the open space element. Hopefully, I don't have to have a lawsuit against the city. Thank you very much.
Don, real quick.
Yeah.
That item, that first item, that was just a receive and file on the Beaches, Parks and Rec, the master plan.
Right.
So your comments still, you can make them?
Right. I've been trying to get this master plan agendized for,
I know.
1 or 2
Working its
years.
way through
Right.
BP&R, so you're,
That's fine.
definitely your thoughts are valuable in that process.
Right.
It's still gonna
Yeah.
come back around, so it's
Well,
just
good.
receive and file and an update.
Well, good. I want my 3 minutes worth. All right. Thank you.
You're getting it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Mucci, would you please come up to the microphone, followed by Richard Noble, followed by Barum? And I cannot pronounce your last name.
Hi, I'm Melissa Musi. On July 16th, I'll have 5 years sober, not only from drugs and alcohol, but depression and mental illness and eating disorder as well. I came to your beautiful city 5 years ago as a broken person, and with the right tools and the right motivation, I was able to rebuild myself. Treatment centers save lives, not just one, but many of them. Addiction is not a one-glove-fits-all. Depression is not the same for everyone. Eating disorder is not the same for everyone. It's hard enough to recover from a mental health issue when no one wants to talk about it, let alone your family members. But when your city turns their own back against you, it makes it hard to sleep at night. Personally, I can sleep at night. I've struggled with my demons. When I have a son or daughter that has bipolar or some sort of mental health issue, I'll be able to sleep at night because I know I'll be able to do what I can for them. I don't know if you guys will be able to sleep at night if you have a son or daughter because they won't have a place to go. They may have 2 places, 3 places, but it's not going to work for them. It took me 20 antidepressant drugs to find one that works for me, if that. And I'm sure you guys can, at least one of you could relate to that. This is not a one-glove-fits-all. People need options. People need opportunities, just like the ones that was given to me. We're giving into petty annoyances rather than saving people's lives, just like my own. I was 19 when I came here, and I had a plan to commit suicide a week after if it didn't go well. I'm here 5 years later. This is something the city has given me. Please don't take it away from anyone else. Thank you.
Mr. Noble?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, everybody on YouTube, and people in the audience. I drove in from Palm Springs because this is an issue that's important to me, making sure that we give quality treatment to people suffering from mental illness and addiction. And today I want to read a prayer, and I dedicate this to Tiger Woods, who's now in treatment for opiate addiction, and to the fans of Carrie Fisher, a friend of mine, who we found out today died from opiates and heroin. Prayer for freedom. Today, Creator of the universe, we ask that you come to us and share with us a strong communion of love. We know that your real name is love, that to have a communion with you means to share the same vibrations, the same frequency that you are, because you are the only thing that exists in the universe. Today, help us be like you are, to love life, to be love. Help us to love the way you love, with no conditions, no expectations, no obligations, without any judgment. Help us to love and accept ourselves without any judgment, because when we judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty and we need to be punished. Help us to love everything you create unconditionally, especially other human beings, especially those who live around us, all our relatives and people whom we try so hard to love. Because when we reject them, we reject ourselves. And when we reject ourselves, we reject you. Help us to love others just the way they are with no conditions. Help us to accept them the way they are without judgment. Because if we judge them, we find them guilty, we blame them, and we have to punish them. Today, clean our hearts of any emotional poison that we have, free our minds from any judgment, so that we can live in complete peace and complete love. Today is a very special day. Today we open our hearts to love again, so that we can call and tell each other, I love you, without any fear and really, really mean it. Today we offer ourselves to you. Come to us. Use our voices, use our eyes, use our hands, and use our hearts to share ourselves in a communion of love with everyone. Today, Creator, help us to be just like you are. Thank you for everything that we received this day, especially for the freedom to be who we really are. Amen. That comes from the 4 agreements. And we need to end the stigma. And, you know, drugs and alcohol are all around us. Treatment is around us. Mental illness is around us. And I think it's only through love and understanding that we're going to come to any sort of agreement. And I say this in the hopes of the repeal of 1616 and 1622. Thank you.
After Bahram is Bernard Oakley, Karina Robles, and Martin Lugo. I'm sorry if I pronounced that
That's okay. Hello, Council. My name's Bear Mogadam. I'm a San Clemente resident. I've lived here for over 5 years. What I'd like to say in the hopes of the repeal with 1616 and 1622 is we just come together as a community in regards to mental health matters, how we look at it, and really how we're approaching helping the people in our community as obviously being non-discriminatory and accepting all walks of life while still maintaining the American dream and maintaining our beautiful city the way we see fit, but also really just coming up with solutions and coming to the aid of the people and everyone in need, really, whether it's people that are our veterans or children that are in need. These are people that are in our community, and we just really need to come up with progressive ways to treat these people. Limiting these resources is only going to be detrimental. We really need treatment facilities that help people, as some have mentioned. Obviously, the proper medications. But these are people that we have in our communities, and we want to embrace them and treat them properly. I think with advancements in medicine and therapy, this will help. We don't want to see another boy jump in front of the train on a holiday weekend here in San Clemente based on their mental health issues. Thank you.
Hello, City Council. My name's Bernard Oakley. I just want to, hopefully, we can all come up with a solution to repeal 1616 and 1622. You know, it is a meaningful subject in a lot of people's hearts, and we do help a lot of people, and, you know, mental health matters, and we just want you guys to consider coming up with a better solution and repeal 1616 and 1622. Thank you.
Following Karina Robles is Martin Lugo and Lori Pritchard.
Hi, my name is Karina. I'm actually coming from Mission Viejo, and the reason why I'm coming is because I actually feel like a member of the city working here for the last couple of years. I think it's important to recognize I am labeled as what you outside people will call a normie, which is that I haven't been in recovery, I haven't abused a substance. And I think that's really important to also point out because I'm coming from a different point of view, which is actually not having direct relationship with a lot of what the people right now are dealing with, which is mental health illness or a drug addiction. I actually have a parent who has a mental illness, and it's really important for me for her and for me to recognize that she has an illness and that she needs to get treatment. I am thankful to work where I work and to have finally formed a bond with her, because for the longest time we didn't know how to speak to each other about something that's actually very real to her. Which is why it's really important for me and to come here. You see the green and support treatment centers. It's not a vacation home for the people that are going there. It's a way for them to restart, to reconnect with something that they might have never had the opportunity to do. As a daughter of somebody who has and suffers from mental illness and deals with that on a day-to-day basis, it's really important for you guys to really go outside of the box and try to see the different perspectives that other people are going through and why treatment centers are really there for the people. You know, I can say thankfully I don't have to go through that, but I think it's really important for the treatment centers to be there and offer that support that otherwise would not be there. And the people who are going there are going there because they need to gasp for air, and that is what we are providing them. And, you know, this thing about NIMD happening, and someone said the little annoyances, that's very true. When I first started my work, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? But the last couple of years have really showed that it's about the people that we serve. And I was reading your mission statement, you know, and it's about thinking of today's needs and thinking about future for tomorrow. And that all comes into treatment. We offer a lot of options for people that can get better and that can know it's okay to feel how they're feeling, to get into contact with whoever they need to. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, my name is Martin Lugo, and I've been up here and I've spoke before. I've been up here before, and I think the last time I mentioned is that, you know, it really makes me happy that you guys open up with prayer, because I believe in that so much. I'm a Christian myself, and I strongly believe in my faith. And, you know, the good Lord delivered me of my addiction 10.5 years ago. And I served in a church ministry in recovery for over 7 years, close to 8 years. And we had many treatment facilities come in to our church to get that knowledge on how God can relieve them. And I strongly believe that the good Lord puts facilities such as treatment centers in place to be able to provide the tools and staffing and help and counseling and therapy that they desperately need in order to get the help that they desperately need to get. I know there's, you know, these whole ordinances came up because of supporters of NIMBY. Instead of being dead set on trying to get rid of these treatment facilities, you know, God asks us to sometimes step out of our own comfort zone. And sometimes he puts us in a place to where we kind of wonder, well, what should we do in this kind of situation? Well, instead of passing judgment, you know, let's pray for these individuals, pray for the staff that help them, pray for the community, and ask for prayer and what kind of decision you need to make. But I strongly believe that, you know, these facilities are put in place to, you know, to help these people, you know. And I work in the treatment facility. I provide transportation, I manage it, and I'm able to see all walks that come through there and be able to provide some kind of words of encouragement. And it's amazing how sometimes some of that really helps, and I see other individuals really make it. Not everybody will, but if we keep providing the treatment that we need to, and the tools that they need, there's going to be a lot of saved lives. So I think it's really important that we really focus on a solution to these ordinances instead of just trying to get us out of here. So I'm going to be here every time there's a council meeting. I'm going to be here in repeal of 1616 and 1622.
Thank you. Lori Pritchard, and I think she has someone accompanying her. We don't need to be afraid, do we? This is the last card. I heard about this, but I wasn't sure. I didn't think you were coming.
He gives a hoot. How about that? Just in case. Okay, let's get you situated. Good evening, council members and Mayor. My name is Lori Pritchard. I am the owner of Hawkeye Predators, and I'm a professional bird abatement service using traditional falconry methods to intimidate and scare off nuisance birds, which cause health hazards and safety concerns. I am federally and state licensed, insured, master falconer with 20 years experience flying hawks, owls, falcons, and I'm a member of the National Wildlife Control Operators Association. I'm aware of the pigeon problem at the pier, and the water quality and bacteria levels have increased there. I've listened to the impassioned speeches by people that are concerned about what the city is planning on doing and to mitigate the problem. And also, I heard speeches, the friends of the pigeons, and that say that they belong there. They've been there for decades and they belong there. And they do, they actually do. They have been there and they do. Static deterrents, such as owl statues and spikes and netting, those are short-term offerings. Problem birds acclimate to that and find ways around them. Falconry-based bird abatement uses natural hunting instincts, the predator and prey relationship, to control the numbers of birds by intimidating and pursuing from the air. They are a serious threat that pigeons never acclimate to. Although it looks like hunting, they are trained to return to the falconer for food. The objective is not killing the pigeons, but scaring them off the premises and stressing them so that they do not return to their usual feeding places, and we disrupt their nesting. Make them so stressed out they actually don't. In fact, pigeons, they nest 3 to 4 times a year, and they start at age 4 months. So that's constant nesting, and we want to disrupt that. It is quiet. Falconry-based bird abatement is quiet, discreet, organic, eco-friendly solution, and it provides a variety of educational and social opportunity as it affords the public a close-up experience and see the relationship between the falconer and the birds of prey. In fact, I was at the pier and spent an afternoon there, and it was amazing, the outpouring, and it was overwhelming. The people were so positive and saying, oh, our city is so forward-thinking to have you here. And I'm like, yeah, I hope so. And in fact, Bob Novella from the, yes, had come out and joined us, and he was just so excited. And I said, root for us. Was going to come here and just put it out there. And I believe we can be a positive addition to the beautification that your historic pier is going through right now. Thank you very much.
Did you give Bob your business card?
I did, and he gave me 2 of his and his
Oh.
personal number.
I thought
So-
the story was going to finish with, and then Bob hired me to keep the pigeons away from my restaurant.
Well, I do work in Redondo Beach, and it's a co-op between the city of Redondo and one of the restaurant owners and the Pier Association, and because of the boats and everything that are there, and just one other, the Pier Association, and like the Harbor Commission, or the harbor folks, so. This is a great horned owl, has nothing to do with bird abatement. He's my falconry bird.
It's just
But,
cool looking.
That's it, he's got wow factor.
Yeah,
And,
we're wowed.
and when I called and I asked if I could bring bird of prey, I was told, well, the council members are familiar with hawks and falcons, so I thought, not owls. But that's a great horned owl. They are from around here.
And you can look at his tail feather all by.
And you won't forget me. Oh, this is Wally.
Wally's kind of badass.
He is.
So,
He's a cat with wings.
have you contacted our city manager about your services?
No, I have, this is my first, I came to see
Give her your
myself.
card. Give her your
So
card.
happily.
And we would
Thank
be
you.
interested in what,
You don't have a card on you?
we'd be interested in what you think about our plan. And I have one question. When you do this, how long does it take to move the pigeons to another area?
Okay, it comes in stages, and first you do have to manually and humanely remove them. Thank you so much, appreciate it. You're
All right.
scared.
So,
Hand it to Wally.
well, it keeps turning around and looking at him. So it is a process, so they would have to be removed still, but this
Well, what would happen is the falcons and hawks that we would be flying would go after the sick, the babies, So you want to remove, as much as possible. And there are sick, I took pictures, and there's sickly ones. What happens when there's that much density in pigeons, they tend to, share diseases and everything. I mean, they lay eggs in their own poop.
Okay.
So, yes, so you would hand remove as many as possible, live trapping. And in fact, I'm very happy to take home pigeons. I rehome them. And then a good solid month of every single day, just really hard hitting.
Okay,
And
well,
then it
please-
tapers off.
Please contact James, because we would be interested.
We've
in
done this
listening to that.
already. San Clemente has done this already. We did it.
Hochi Beach.
Hochi Beach, yeah. So we have an experience with it, so, and I recall, it's just something you have to keep up on a regular basis to keep them away once you've got it down there. So, yeah, I remember using them.
All right, absolutely. I will definitely do that. And thank you
very
again.
much. So that includes oral communications, part 1.
Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Brown, second by Ham, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Closed session report, city attorney.
There's no reportable action taken.
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion, unless council, staff, or the public request removal of an item for separate discussion and action.
Yeah, 6B2.
Pardon?
6B2. Tim? Do you have anything? And I think we have to wait for Councilmember Doncheck to see if she has anything to pull. James, can you?
Mayor, while you're waiting, could I ask that there was written correspondence that came in on the commission notes from the commission minutes under B3? And if you could pull that when you get to it, we need to make a clarification for the record there.
Okay.
We'll just take a second.
Staff pulling that, or are you?
Lori
pulling
wants
that?
to
A
pull
staff
I.
one, yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to move the balance?
Move the balance.
Motion by Brown, second by Ham. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Move the balance.
Okay.
6B2.
6B2, mine's short and quick. So this is kind of a cool project that I saw that one of our communities is taking on. I don't want to broach the subject of pocket parks, but it's pretty neat that a community took it upon themselves to do one, even though it may just be temporary. It's still a neat idea, and I just want to propose that any other communities that are interested in doing this with vacant or unused land, I would be a supporter of. And hopefully there's other communities that see this as a positive trend moving forward, and they will do such.
And as you know, time on Parks and Rec, it's difficult for the city to maintain it, but for local communities to do it,
Yeah.
I'm right with you. I think it's great for local areas to take advantage and be able to do that. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, so anyway, thanks to Sea Point Estates for creating their own pocket park. And with that, I'll move that.
Motion by Ham, second by Brown. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Next item, 6B3, and that was Scott.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. We wanted to point out that the, on that Planning Commission agenda was the approval of various entitlements for the Miramar Theater. And we received this afternoon a request that we make this clarification that has been made to that project applicant, and that's that there is an injunction that applies to building approvals and entitlements on that property. It was issued in the Emergency Services Coalition case against the city of San Clemente. And so the effectiveness of the entitlements that are issued in that agenda will be contingent upon our confirmation that the injunction does not apply, or that the injunction has been released, or that that applicant has entered into some sort of stipulation with the plaintiffs in that case. So we just wanted to be really clear that we weren't intending to violate the injunction with the issuance of those permits, and they'll be contingent upon confirmation that the injunction does not apply.
Right, and that's on the SB2 situation.
Yes, thank
And
you.
we could always go to the judge and ask for him to allow.
Yeah, we can go to the judge ourselves. We've encouraged the applicant to consider that. The other possibility is that outside the city's auspices, they could enter into agreement between the two of them, but one of those will have to happen. And just wanted to make, there was a concern that the Planning Commission might be in contempt of that order, and we wanted to be really clear that we understood that the effectiveness of those entitlements was contingent upon release out from under the injunction.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I'll move the item. Oh,
I was going to move it, so I'll go ahead and move it.
I'll second it to Steve.
Okay, motion by Swartz, second by Ham. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. I.
Okay, I pulled item I, which is the easement agreement with Verde Park, and I can make this short and sweet also. I think this is a bad deal for the city, and so I would like to have this taken off the agenda and sent back to the drawing board with a couple of thoughts. One is, why doesn't the school district just give the land to the city? Because basically, we're being asked to irrigate it, we're being asked to maintain it, we're being asked to insure it, we're being asked to basically groom it, and it's a kind of a sweet deal for them. So I'd like to go back to the drawing board and explore that option where they just outright, I don't know what the legal term would be, but deed that 20% or whatever it is of Verde Park over to the city. I think there's a law that if you're doing something for 7 years and nobody says stop it, it becomes yours anyway. And so could we look at that? You know what I'm talking about, Scott? Yeah. There is no agreement right now. Yeah. So my point is, it's been de facto behaving as a park for many, many, many years. My second idea would be that if they're not willing to give it to us, how much would it cost to buy it? Because this idea of an easement just doesn't, it's the kind of thing that's going to have future city councils scratching their head going, what were they thinking when they cut this deal? So option 2 would be that the city might purchase it. Option 3 is take a harder look at this and make sure that it's equitable to the city. There's an access from the high school. There's a chain link with a fence over there. This discussion we're contemplating tonight is totally silent on high school access, yet we're being asked to insure the property. So third prize would be strengthening the agreement so it's more beneficial to the city. And then winding this all together, I couldn't find it on my calendar, but I believe Councilmember Brown and I are meeting with CUSD sometime this summer, and we could add this to the agenda if that made sense. It's in July, I think. So if I have agreement from my colleagues, I would like to ask staff to sharpen their pencil on this. All right.
Just got a couple questions of staff. Is there any negative impacts to delaying this? I mean, is there any timeline that's required of us? I mean, if we come back and decide this is the best deal,
no,
do we have to renegotiate?
We can hold off on this and go back to the drawing board, so to speak. We have a meeting coming up in July with the school district. We can visit it with them, with Councilmember Brown and Councilmember Donchek, and then report back and go from there.
And a tiny bit of the backstory on this, I think he's not here anymore. Dennis, who was Dennis in
Dennis Reed.
Dennis Reed. This was some sort of jerry-rigged situation that is not documented, and it came up when we were looking at view protection and tree maintenance.
It was tree maintenance.
Yeah.
The tree maintenance question there
Right.
came up because we wanted to talk about trimming those trees, and the school district said, well, you got to get our permission.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to give us permission to spend our money on their property. I'd like to just have another look at this item.
It's to maintain, because we have the tennis court that's on their side of the line. You'll see right there, what is that, parcel 177?
Yeah.
The tennis
Right there.
court.
The corner of it.
The line cuts across, so that's the issue, is our tennis court somehow was laid on their property. So.
And they never protested, so I'm wondering about this legal concept of if somebody's doing something and you don't correct it.
Can we make the priority that we first search out the legal question whether or not it's just our property now, because we have been maintaining it for over 7 years, and then after we get that answer, then pursue
The other paths?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I move that we move this item off of tonight's agenda and with the direction to staff as suggested.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we're going to have there is that it would require some form of subdivision, wouldn't it? If we're going to claim that, because to claim a portion of the lot but not the entire lot would require us to subdivide it for the portion to, I mean.
You're raising a lot of good issues. Conveyances to or from a public agency may be exempt from subdivision map act requirements, but how they treat each other with regard to adverse possession is different depending on whether it's getting possessed against the city or vice versa, and since there's two entities. So those are all issues that we could figure out, but just not right here.
And, I should have begun with the sentence, I love Verde Park. My goal is to keep Verde Park gorgeous and the gem that it is. So the idea of losing that land back to CUSD is not an option.
And just to be clear, too, that you want this to come back before council for
Yes,
adoption.
yes, and it can either come back to us, or if it makes sense, as the city manager said, for it to be part of our CUSD joint meeting in July, that's fine too.
I think I'm good with you guys discussing it, but just the final contract would come back. So that we're ready.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so that's a motion to table this then, right? We're not tabling it?
It's just to, we'll bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, motion by Donchek, second by Han, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Next item is a report from the Deputy Public Works Director concerning a code amendment related to solid waste management, solid waste reduction and recycling, and waste management plan for certain construction, demolition, and renovation projects.
Good evening, Mayor Ward and members of the council. Tom Vonnegut, Deputy Public Works Director. So the item before you tonight is to make changes to several of our municipal codes relating to solid waste management. Hopefully the report has done a good job of explaining what we're asking you to change and why. However, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. I also have Cynthia Mallett, our environmental program supervisor here, and her team worked extensively on this. Basically, as we mentioned in the report, there are a number of cleanup items that staff from over the years of implementing the code just to help better enforce certain provisions, and of course some things that are triggered by new state requirements and have already been contemplated in our Centennial General Plan, and we're catching the code up. So I know you've read the report. With that, I'll open it up to any questions you have for staff.
Does anyone have any questions? Is there a motion? I'm sorry. Yes. It's new business. Is there anyone here that would wish to speak on 9A? Seeing no one?
Really?
No one is excited about solid waste management.
I'll read it. I move we introduce ordinance number 1642 entitled an ordinance of the City Council, City of San Clemente, California, replacing in its entirety, Chapter 8.28 collection and the disposal of solid waste and changes titled Solid Waste Management, amending chapters 8.68 entitled Solid Waste Reduction and Recycling, and replacing in its entirety Chapter 8.69 entitled Waste Management Plan for certain construction, demolition, and renovation projects.
Second.
Motion by Brown, second by Doncheck. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Next item is a report from the city attorney related to a proposed amendment to the code of the city of San Clemente to prohibit aggressive solicitation.
Mayor and Council, we provided a comprehensive written report on this, so I don't want to be redundant about that. But several months ago, the City Council approved a tool set of remedies that private property owners, in cooperation with the city, could use to control the use of their property. And if people are using or occupying commercial property without the consent of the business owner, then that entity or that owner was able to enlist the help of the city and law enforcement to have that person or that occupant removed from their property. This piece was brought back at the behest of the City Council as an additional tool. It applies to public property and remedies the public ill. It's actually categorized as an offense against public peace and decency that entails aggressive panhandling. So this ordinance contains a list of definitions that explains what exactly aggressive panhandling it is. It basically involves accosting someone, touching someone, blocking the ingress or egress of someone, their travel along a public property or a public parking lot without the consent of the person that they're soliciting. It includes a very clear definition of public place, which includes not just city-owned places or state-owned places, but places that provide regular access to the public. And, by the way, prohibits solicitation in public transportation vehicles, which have no means of escape if you're the person being victimized by a solicitor, and which, by the way, are not traditional public forums. The San Clemente trolley or buses coming or going with public transport are not usually included as places like a park or a street corner where you're able to solicit or talk to people or give a speech. This will provide a tool in addition to the penal code remedies that are related to this ordinance, so that city enforcement staff will have the ability of citing under the penal code and referring that citation to the district attorney for prosecution, and giving this to the city attorney's office or the city's contract prosecutor for prosecution under the municipal code. The city has the ability to use administrative remedies for citations under this ordinance, or to proceed directly to a criminal citation under your code. So this is offered to the City Council for introduction and first reading. I'm available to answer any questions you might have. Also, I wanted to acknowledge that community development staff and the Sheriff's Office have been working very ambitiously and providing a lot of support to the substance and process of getting this to you.
So when I first suggested we wanted to do this, so what I want to do is empower our sheriffs when they're on patrol, when they see something that is out there that is effectively causing our residents and visitors to our city to be fearful because of the panhandlers and the solicitations that are out there, that they don't need to have a property owner or have anybody file a complaint. If they see the person doing it, they can cite them or arrest them on site. So that was the all behind why I brought this on. And the other thing I want to follow up with and suggest we look at is between this one and the one that we're talking possibly of regarding short-term rentals and solutions that may also include criminalizing actions after it's been cited or found, that we may look into getting our own prosecutor down here, because I'm concerned that the county DA may not put this very high on their list to care about or respond to, and we end up basically just writing tickets again and nothing happening. So I want us to maybe look into, a special prosecutor. That has been done, I believe, at Huntington Beach has done that. And you can actually come out with some softening of the cost because of the additional penalties and fines that are done through the court system, comes back then to the city. So there is a potential way that we can offset a lot of the costs involved with that, and maybe even share them with local cities to share the cost. But it would give us more control on prosecuting those that violate our laws and ordinances within the city in a criminal nature. So I just throwing this out there as we go through this and we get to the second reading, that we may need to beef up our ability to enforce the violators to the point that they decide they'll find somewhere else to do it because it's no longer profitable here.
I think we need to clarify, though, this is for aggressive solicitation. Blocking someone's way, following them, going out of your way, to stop them. This is not just for, I don't want it, if someone just sees a panhandler, they're going to be calling the sheriff's department. Can you clarify that, Scott, the difference between this and that? Because it sounded like Steve said it's going to be any panhandling.
Yeah, and this applies to public places, not private places. And private places are a whole different set of rules. A property owner can prescribe rules that say no one can be in my parking lot or anywhere near my store if they're not here to do commerce. So that's what you did last year. This applies to public places. It can't prohibit someone standing there with a sign in the corner, not in anyone's way, saying help a vet. But it can, it does regulate by what's defined as aggressive panhandling, which is that same person blocking someone's way, accosting them, shocking them, or assaulting them with that behavior. So not just talking to someone as they pass by, but actually getting in their way.
I just wanted that clarified because we'll start getting a lot of calls.
Yeah, but what I want to, the picture that's been painted a number of times, that we have a lot of our residents that are walking the beach trails, maybe with their kids in tow, and they have people coming up to them, pushing, begging for money in their face, and following them and cursing at them. This is what is a violation of the law.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this?
I have want to comment off what Steve
Go ahead.
said. So, Steve, I was under the impression that staff was already moving forward with a prosecutor on other issues. So it seems like it would just be easy to augment that contract, right? Add this to that.
We could probably amend the contract to add that type of service to Matt Silver's contract. His was more about doing the code enforcement issues. So this is a little bit different, so we'd have to take a look at it with him but on our brief conversation with him, it should be doable.
Okay. The other issue that I want to broach, and it's under this topic, is I'm sure I'm going to mess it up. I had a conversation with one of our deputies, and he had concern on enforcing the rules that are currently on the books. And it was, I guess, Chapter 9 of the City Muni Code. And apparently a lot of the issues with Chapter 9 codes is that they result in a misdemeanor, which has to be prosecuted by a district attorney or local attorney, which we don't have. And so the request was made that we make it an infraction as well as a misdemeanor, not just a misdemeanor, so that way it goes through the court system and still has some traction. So I was going to ask for it under Councilmember Riders, but this might be more appropriate to ask for it now, that we either direct staff to do that, or if we, so being, we bring a staff report back to discuss further.
I don't know anything. What's
the basic would be like a curfew infraction or at a park after hours. Currently, it would be assigned a misdemeanor, which the court then just bounces back, says we don't handle these, your own prosecutor has to handle, of which we don't have.
Right.
But if you converted that misdemeanor to a misdemeanor and an infraction, then it would be the court's responsibility to address those concerns. And so, as most of you know,
Give me an example of it. Give me an example of an infraction.
Infraction would be a ticket, so you can physically write a ticket.
Oh, I see.
We're fining you for this, and once you get a certain number of fines and tickets for whatever it may be, parking citations, anything, that eventually goes to the judge, and it has to be ruled upon by the judge because of the accruance of those infractions. So it's more of a enforcement tool for the deputies.
So you're making a request that we look at Chapter 9?
We'll take a look at Chapter 9 and also have that conversation with Matt Silver and see how it all rolls in together and what the best tack is, and see if we can bring you a comprehensive plan for how to attack everything.
Okay. All right, there was no public comments. Anyone want to introduce the ordinance?
I'll read it, sure. I move that we introduce ordinance number 1643 entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, amending Chapter 9.04 of the San Clemente Municipal Code, Offenses Against Public Peace and Decency, to prohibit aggressive solicitation, and direct staff to follow up on the ideas that were discussed.
Motion by Donchek, second by Swartz. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
Oral Communications Part 2, I don't have any cards.
Okay.
Consideration of establishing a toll road subcommittee. I do have a card on this one, though.
Okay, let's hear from the public first on this. Is that okay? Dan Bain?
Thank you, Mayor Ward. Good evening, City Council members. Probably should have talked about this earlier since everybody else was, but what the heck, I'm here and got to sit through the entire meeting. Let me just give a plug to Matt Silver, by the way. I think he's an excellent choice. I've litigated against and with Matt a lot, and he does a great job for a very low cost, so I commend the city on that choice. On the subcommittee, I support Lori and Kathy. I missed the discussion last time, so I'm not really entirely sure what this subcommittee is going to be aimed at doing other than addressing. I'm all in favor of an education and outreach subcommittee with Chris and Councilmember Brown and Steve. Certainly, if we can find something for you to do as well in that regard, we'll find a committee for you. But I think public outreach is essential. I wanted to update the council on some things that private citizens have been doing. A group of us met with Lisa Bartlett on Friday. I'll say that was an interesting meeting, to say the least. I think that's the first meeting that she's taken. She says that there are going to be lots of other meetings, but a couple of takeaways from that to me were we're not going to get any opposition statement from her, unlike other representatives. She says that she's going to be reaching out to other members of our community. I think we should extend an invitation to her to come out, because I was at that June 5th meeting. It's an absolute farce of a public outreach. She is our supervisor. I asked to meet with her in that capacity. I'd like to see Todd Spitzer come down as well, because Los Patrones is the point of all of this. And her position was that, well, the county doesn't really control Los Patrones anymore, which is not true. That's a county arterial. It was designated as a free road. They can decide not to turn it over to the TCA, and that's it. She expressed some reservation that perhaps the TCA could condemn that road. That's not accurate either. County Council has already said, no, that's not the case. They dispute that claim. So that's a pressure point that I think the city should go after, whoever's on that subcommittee. Invite them down, talk to them. The county should not be turning that over. I also talked with Derek Reeve from San Juan Capistrano. I think there's an opportunity there for the council to reach out to them. An important thing that's happened there is they've requested that Los Ramblas be taken off the MPAH, which needs to not happen. That is counterproductive to what we want to do here. I think everybody agrees that arterials are a good solution, and in fact, they help the traffic more than any toll road ever could. So we need to reach out to them ASAP. I know that Mayor Ferguson has spoke to Mayor Ward. There was some miscommunication, I think, with Mayor Ferguson and what the rest of her council wanted to do with the Beltway option. But I think all of them are in line and would be willing to talk to the city if we reached out to them. Finally, just real quickly, one of the other issues that I raised with Lisa Bartlett on Friday was that I felt there were significant Brown Act issues, primarily because the city, San Clemente, was not involved in that settlement discussion at all, or the protective agreement that followed that up. And I'll finish really quickly if I could. Very significant issues. You know, that was approved in a closed session, as you know, the very definition of a closed deal. There was no public hearing after that. I would ask that the city give city attorney permission to raise those issues as well at his meeting with Mike Kramer or whoever it may be. So if not, I will certainly be raising them myself, but I think that's a critical issue that needs to be brought in the public spectrum. So thank you.
We'll certainly, on the Los Ramblas, I think that with the addition of what Mr. McGuire said about Christianitas Road, we should definitely be adding that to our study of arterials. When we go through all these, all the cities kind of throw out what they think they want to do or don't want to do. And one of the things that I found out is that we can suggest, say, Mission Viejo, make Crown Valley go into the 241, but if they don't want it, OCTA, I believe, cannot make them do that. But we can certainly try to make the case and add that and see how it works in our arterial study, definitely.
And also, I know this is not on the agenda because we're talking about appointments, but the Ortega widening is another conversation to understand how San Juan sits with that after the grand jury report from a couple weeks ago.
I thought that was settled. It's not settled? I thought there was a settlement on it, and so the
It would
grand
just be
jury
good to
kind
have clarity
It
for
would.
the arterial solution.
Right. We should do that, but I think they had already kind of reached an agreement on that. Okay. So, on the toll road subcommittee, any thoughts? Because last time when we talked about it, there was an issue with OCTA and.
Yeah, I would just still like to be considered for the subcommittee. And I think, you know, this has been an issue for me for 20-plus years, and I'm not going to give up on this issue, and I think that I'd serve well on it, that position.
And unfortunately, I think that we should have the two people that are currently actively involved in OCTA and TCA. I think they would bring the most to the table. I applaud, you know, you wanting to be part of it, but but I'm just thinking that if someone has current involvement, may have just a little bit more in their quiver.
I think one of the things that came up was OCTA, and we saw some simulations recently, and we weren't sure what it meant. And there is some ambiguity on what OCTA might want to do in San Clemente, and actually Caltrans with the managed lanes. I have concerns with that. We're a funnel. I don't really want to see lanes go away. I want to have all the lanes that we can have to but I want it to be within the right-of-way we already currently have. So OCTA, Daryl Johnson offered to do a presentation on the long-range planning or budget plans for OCTA, and I asked James to schedule that so that we could ask questions, but I think it should be further directed that when they come, we really want to know what the long-range plans are for San Clemente, even what they know about what TCA is planning, because OCTA are our county planners, but they are, if I'm not mistaken, they're subjugated to the toll road in planning in this instance, aren't they? Because they're the Transportation Corridor Authority.
Let's just keep it focused on committee selection.
Well, that's one of the things that I want to ask about this, is we had questions about OCTA, and that, we need specifics on that. So I think we should actually not pick the subcommittee now until we figure out what's going on.
I'm going to
in town.
disagree with that, because to the comment about the purpose, this was my idea, and then it came up under the visual simulations. I see it as a leadership tool. There are so many moving pieces going on, and we need accountability, and we need two people that can talk to each other without worry of Brown Act violations. And we also, there is a scenario where we only meet once in July and once in August, and there's a lot going on this summer, so we need the added advantage of being able to move a little more quickly. And so if Councilmember Ham is the choice and you are the other choice, that is what it is. But it's leadership, it's Brown Act, and it's the ability to move with speed were kind of the ideas behind that. So I wouldn't delay it again. The time, just today, I've talked to Rancho Mission Viejo, County Supervisor Bates, Fish and Wildlife, the CEO of OCTA, and none of those were planned conversations, and those were things that happened today. So the information is constantly changing, and we need to be prepared to
agree.
receive and act on it.
It's a moving target right now, it is.
It is,
It's
and we
every
need to
day.
get ahead of it, and we need to control it. And I think the comment made earlier, we need to be focused, and we need to get the community all on the same page rather than divided. So,
So you're envisioning this task force is going to direct the community? Or is the task force going to be trying to direct our staff and our city attorney on issues
I see
that
the
we
task
know are-
force as having accountability. All five of us have accountability, but for example, we have two people on public safety who are accountable. We have people on water who are accountable. It's just kind of a sphere of influence notion. So that was the intention.
Well, I think the task force, also the members, they're going to be able to interact with the players and the stakeholders involved. And that's why I want you to be there, because
I have been doing it for the last 6
I know,
months.
I know.
Okay.
So that's
So it's
so
not
it's
like
just
it's
giving-
not happening.
No, but it's just giving it a little bit more weight that we've formed this task force specifically because of the concerns of our community. And so that's it.
Well, I for one am supportive of, frankly, I think any of us could serve effectively on this task force. Chris has been a very passionate advocate from the beginning. I'm going to support him being on the task force with Kathy. And, I do think we need to make an appointment tonight, though, so.
Okay. All right.
So it's all on you, Kathy.
That's not fair. I don't like being the swing vote.
I'll give you another idea, Mr. Ham. How about if I do it for a year, and then I'll be a lame duck at this time next year, and you could jump on?
should I say? I'm going to take my name out. And then everybody wants me to be on it. It's like, I've been on it for 6 months.
Let me talk through this for a second, Lori. I think I would be open to the idea of you being on it through the first of the calendar year. And then I take over from there, but I don't think a whole year.
How about we revisit it the first of the year? Because I heard you're running for county supervisor, and so if that's true.
And governor as well, so we're doing both.
I heard that at the.
I think we need a
I'm running for the Georgia
Yeah.
seat in Congress.
Are you
so
going
I
to
just
donate
know
to my
that-
campaign when I do run for planning board supervisor?
I would like to hear what you're going to stand for, and yeah.
Here's my issue about the subcommittee that we're creating this evening, whether we're calling it subcommittee or task force, I'm not sure which one we're deciding on, but I've been resolute in my opposition to toll roads from day one. It's been very clear from day one, toll roads. It's not, I don't like this alignment, I don't like that alignment. I've been in opposition to toll roads, period. And I think that needs to be the main message coming out of this community. It's not that toll roads are okay for the 405 in the north end of our community. It's not that toll roads are okay for the 91. It's not that toll roads are okay if they go around San Clemente. It's an issue of toll roads are not okay for the residents of South Orange County, and that needs to be the message. And I think I can deliver that message. That's why I think I would be a welcomed asset. So.
Okay. We'll do that. As far as, well, Chris and I, yeah, I am for now. But as far as education and outreach, you know, that could be done somewhat through this task force. And we're trying, but we are the city council, and we're running the city. And so we are doing all that we can, but through our channels, which are the electeds and, you know, other people. And we try to keep the community educated on this, but as far as being the rah-rah, I don't think that is our job to be doing that. Trying to support the people and give them all the information they want, but as far as doing that, you know, that might be unrealistic, because it's a full-time job.
So you're saying you want to have a separate committee? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I don't. I just think that that's over managing this for a council to be doing that, having a task force to be doing that. I mean, we are leading just being on the council. We do that anyway.
Yeah, I think the public outreach
Should be the city trying to.
Well, I think it's all of us. I think
all
it's
of us.
exactly what Lori did this evening, what she did. She just talked about all the things she did today. I think it's everything that Steve's doing in his community. I think it's all of us that should be doing public outreach. It's not a solo.
No, but I don't think there needs to be a committee.
Here's a thought, because Laura, you came up with the idea, the subcommittee idea.
No, we've already been kind of doing it.
Yeah, I know, but she came up with the idea, but I agree with Chris, and maybe the way to do it is you and I are on our way out. We're lame ducking it in the last year.
No, you don't, you're here, we're here till the finish line, but go ahead
Well,
and finish
no,
your.
but
yeah.
I mean, we're going to be,
yeah.
you know, I'm looking in the near future. I'm actually supportive of Lori running it through the beginning of this next year, and then maybe doing a baton handoff and running it from there. You know, I don't want to change tack, but I am actually going to change tack on this, because I think it would be, listen, this is a group effort. There's no reason for us to be pitted one against the other, because we're all pointing in the same direction. So, yeah, it's painful, but that's politics, you know. It is. It's usually quite painful. So, you know, I'd be supportive if Chris is okay with that, is to just do it through the calendar year and then pick it up and then see how it's going in January.
We'll revisit it. We don't just
Revisit it.
hand the baton, we revisit it.
Here's my only issue, Lori, and you laughed when Tim brought up politics, because you are the politician here. You're the best politician here, hands down. I will give you that. And so my concern is the revisit. Hold on.
I don't want to have happen what happened last week, okay? I got so many emails, Chris, from people said, please tell
Are you
Chris.
going to cut me off, or are you going to give me?
No,
an
I just
speak?
want,
Okay.
it's important, we all vote, people voted for all 5 of us, and they will expect us to work civilly. So if you're going to take a stab at me, I'm going to be really hurt.
Can I speak now, or are you going to interrupt me again? Okay, so as I was saying, I still commend you for being the best politician on this council, because I believe you are. And so my issue with it is you're going to make it a political issue come January, if it's not a baton handoff, as Tim spoke about. And so I don't need to have another political hot-button issue for you just to create so that we can have a discussion over how great you are, how great Steve is, or how great I am. And I think it's a very clear transition of power in January if we have it assigned, and that's the way it happens. So I'm comfortable doing that. I think that's a fair middle ground.
I don't know what gain I would get in January.
I don't either, quite honestly. I
Yeah.
really don't.
Yeah.
I really
But
don't.
if those are the terms, then stick with your original path.
So you're saying you're not going to help the community with every opportunity you have?
So the question that I'll put forward for all of us is.
I'll make the motion, Tim. So I'm going to move that we appoint Lori Donchek and Kathy Ward to a subcommittee ending January 1st, 2018, at which point I will take over Councilwoman Donchek's seat aside Kathy Ward. I'll second that. Lori has to be up.
No, I'm not willing to serve because I have a job, and every summer I make the choice if I'm going to take that job or not. And so if you don't need my time it doesn't serve the best interest of the community to do it for 6 months. So if you're willing to tweak your motion and make it that we consider both seats in January, revisiting it, because Kathy's also going into an election year next year, then I might be open to it. But if it's just me who's being held out as some sort of political, then it's a little crazy talk.
I'm supportive of that.
Well, I think we're all been used to hanging out politically on this council.
I'm supportive of that option. So if both seats are up on January 1st, we could just look at it then and
See
see
how
how
they're
things are
doing.
going and reconfigure it at that point.
Well, and I think to that point, quite
And I
frankly,
support that, too.
the TCA is going to be, that seat's going to be up come first meeting in December.
That's
so.
another valid point. You may not be our representative next year.
You know, and you know what I like about this appointment series, though, is that it really should be a team effort, you know, where maybe you two, you know, will be filling those seats, and then it's Steve and Chris, because you'll be here longer, and then, or whatever the case may be. So maybe it'll set a good template for the future where we can, you know, have it
But it also
intermittently
carries-
switching out.
Carries the knowledge forward, because one of the things that I was going to suggest is that if I was the rep next year, that someone else be on the San Joaquin board, so that we're all there hearing everything, so that if I am not here the following year, it is not good. I've learned that from following Jim Dahl and now Scott Deal. It is not good to have one person on if they're not telling everyone else what's going on, because you need that knowledge for all those years. And I've had to do a lot of work to learn everything so that I knew what was going on. So
We have a
but
motion.
Lori,
We have a
you know,
motion.
through this summer, though, I think it would be good, because I think we could do a lot of damage. Okay.
Laura, you made the motion? No, Chris did. Chris
That
made
was
the
your
motion.
Why don't you make it? I'm going to let you make it.
No, you have to amend your motion, because you
Okay,
didn't
so
have that
I'm going
motion.
to revoke my motion from the table then.
Just amend it and say that both positions are going to be.
Okay, I'm going to amend my motion to show that
Both
seats
positions are up
open.
on January 1st.
Okay.
I second.
Motion by Ham, second by, are you revoking your second? Okay, second by Swartz, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. It is, but I really think, I mean, we could do it now.
Fortunately, that was super easy to do, so,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Could we change our TCA appointments to where another council member sits on the San Joaquin? I think we would have to split the stipend, which I don't.
If I may say, we probably need to agendize that, but
No, I just wanted to ask a
my
question.
definition of success is by this time next year, there is no TCA.
There
So
you go.
that's your job.
I would, well,
Dissolve
I'm
it.
working on it.
By the way, there is another city that has already done that.
What?
When I was at my
Oh, but we'll talk about it when we agendize it, but
Right.
I would
think-
like to talk about that even
I'll
mid-year.
I'll look into it. I think the other thing that we need to discuss, the five of you have to discuss and determine is the authority that you're giving to the subcommittee and the amount of direction that they can give staff in your place, so that we know how we're going to work through this and work together as we move forward.
Can I suggest that Kathy and I meet with the right staff people, and then at the July meeting, we suggest rules of engagement?
That'd be good.
Okay.
City Manager?
Yes, on Friday, July 7th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at Conference Room A at the Negocio facility, we will be hosting our first Public Safety Task Force meeting. The public is welcome and encouraged to attend the meeting. Again, that's Friday, July 7th, from 4 to 6 p.m.
Now, that's 3 days before my birthday. You gonna have cake?
If that's what you want, no.
Chewing gum.
City Attorney?
Thanks, I got all mine in earlier.
Council members?
Well, I'd like to wish our city manager happy birthday tomorrow. Oh,
Happy birthday.
We tried to torch you enough.
My wife is telling me, when are you going to be home? We got ice cream for you.
I thought it was an early meeting, so
We
maybe make it public comments.
I have,
oh, no, I was,
I have one thing I wanted to announce. This Friday is our continuing series of Movie in the Park, one of my girls' favorites, which is Sing, and it's going to be karaoke night at Sanji. So I will not be singing because I want people to show up again. However, I would welcome members of our public out to go to this. It's going to be a great event. So it's at San Gorgonio Park. It's at 8 o'clock, and it's Sing with karaoke. And it's a great, if you guys haven't seen it, it's a great movie. So really appreciate it, and it is, actually, music is really quite good. So please come on out to that, and that's it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement to the rest of the council and the community. I had a community meeting at Short Cliffs involving the PCH and ECR changes we're making out there, and it was quite an interesting meeting. We had 40 people show up. I took Tom Frank, city managing engineer, traffic guru, something. He has a big title. And it started out pretty difficult, as I imagined it would. Change is never fun to take under, but I think by the end of it, the community consensus was that they're going to give it 6 to 9 months and see how it goes, and hopefully, yeah, and then come back to us and complain for all the errors that we enacted out there on PCH. So I'm hopeful that the PCH project is going to be a good project, and the biggest overwhelming question I got, and that Tom was very helpful in explaining, was why is there more bike lanes than car lanes on a road? And that was one of the issues that, I feel with the community, is that, I don't think there should be more bike lanes than car lanes on a road, but the subsequent rules and regulations that stipulate the requirements are actually going to make it easier for us as car operators to get around those bicycles with the number of bicycle lanes we have. So, yeah. So it was an interesting meeting, and it went well, and hopefully that Eric and Fred can write about how great that roadway is going to be. And that's it.
Thank you for doing that. That was great that you went to Short Cliffs to do that, because that was definitely necessary for that area. I don't have anything except that, can we agendize the TCA? Whether we can change appointment halfway through or look into, okay. All right, because it was something I was thinking about, but I don't have any other announcements.
okay. I'd like to do the adjournment tonight. I'd like to adjourn this meeting in memory of two dear ones in our community. First is in memory of city employee Gary Eggert, who passed away on May 30th, 2017. Gary worked in the Utilities Division for approximately 30 years and was one of our city's longtime employees. He was family, and our staff looked up to him for his work ethic and knowledge of the water system. Gary is survived by his wife, and he'll be missed by many. The second is longtime activist Lee Steelman, who passed away peacefully June 10th at age 91. Known for helping others, Lee led an inspirational life of service. She was a resident for over 50 years. She co-founded Sarah Preschool, served on the League of Women Voters, chaired the Human Resources Committee, and was part of that group for 14 years. She played an important role in the formation of Casa Romantica. She created SOCS, which successfully launched the Mary Erickson Foundation, low-income housing, Laura's House, and some low-income medical and dental services. My own first encounters with Lee involved bringing Safe Routes to School to our town via the Youth Task Force. And as we all know, she's on our Wall of Fame. Lee's best legacy is her family, and she's going to be deeply missed. And with that, I move that we adjourn to the meeting on June 26th in the council chambers at 4 p.m. for the purpose of interviewing and making appointments to the city's commissions and committees. A subsequent adjourned regular meeting will take place June 27th, 2017, at the council chambers at 4 p.m. for the purpose of interviewing and making appointments to the city's commissions and committees.
Second.
Motion by Doncheck, second by Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Sure. Laura, can you grab?
Just because it's your birthday.